Life Without Borders with Sarah and Mikayla. We will probably trim out our pre-conversation, but
I might leave it in. Just start a dumpster fire in the comments. Are you Android or iPhone?
Are you an Android or an iPhone person? Because Mikayla essentially just said that I'm not a grown-up.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with Android versus iPhone versus
No, it's because I'm cheap, but I use iPhones, so I get older iPhones. And apparently that's not true.
It's to the point where they make it to where you almost have to get a new phone.
You do not?
Let's take it.
I'm serious. I
believe you because I also have never had a new phone.
Because I literally drop it every 5 seconds.
So I'm just really tired of my phone crashing is what it comes down to.
Oh.
And I'm not willing to put up with my phone crashing anymore.
No, that's fair.
I'm a financially stable adult. I'm gonna have a phone that doesn't crash.
You work for a nonprofit. You're not
I'm financially stable enough that I can get a phone that doesn't crash. And it's hold on, I can't text this important thing because I have to wait for my phone to cool off.
Oh.
Because it overheated because I put a phone case on it.
Yes.
One time we're past that. I'm an adult.
I was driving back, and I don't know why this bothered me so much. I was driving back from Virginia Beach. I had been at the NIFLA conference, and I was stuck in traffic. Yeah. And I knew I was going to be on the same road for another 40 miles. Mm-hmm. But my phone kept overheating, and I was panicked that I would miss my turn. Yeah. Even though I literally wasn't moving.
Yeah. No, I'm at the point where my phone actually can't run Google Maps. It won't. And so...
You just get lost everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's actually really bad. And I learned this about 3 hours into a 14-hour road trip down to Alabama. And so I was praying
off MapQuest.
I was praying. I was like, this thing needs to hold on until I can get to I-65. And I know how to get to my hometown once I hit I-65 in Indiana or wherever I was. Because it's the same interstate. You just get to the interstate and then you just drive until you eventually...
drive.
Yeah. No, it is. You get on I-65 and it's stay on this road for 247 miles. And you're like, oh my God. So I just needed to get to I-65. And then so now every time I open it, it just immediately minimizes itself to a screen that's this big and black.
Yeah, you need to do that. It's real.
It's happening.
Well, especially because we run chat from our phone.
Yes. And so I need a phone that's able to open up an app. It's really bad. But it is causing me a weird amount of anxiety. I don't know why. So if this feels unhinged, it's because I'm internalizing the fact that I'm leaving work and going to get a new phone.
Yeah. And you need a new phone.
And I keep telling my friends, I have to go to a city, a different city to go get my phone because we don't have a Best Buy where I live. And my friends, I think they assume I live in the boondocks. They're like, what in the world?
You
and I'm
live in the
and I'm I have to go all the way to Cranberry to get
I love Cranberry.
And they're like, are you
can
okay?
go to Chick-Fil-A.
I can. So this doesn't pertain to you because you can't have gluten. But I do just want to put it out there. 1, Chick-fil-A sponsor us. 2,
please. We will eat Chick-fil-A on every
They
episode.
brought back the banana pudding milkshake. So I guess no. Hear me out. 1, I love banana pudding.
With my from the South.
With my whole heart, banana pudding is the best dessert. And so they had the banana pudding milkshake 20 years ago. And then they just did away with it. And they brought it back. And they brought it back with the pimento cheese.
But it's not gluten-free.
But it's not gluten-free because...
How is it not gluten-free?
Because proper banana pudding has the vanilla wafers in it.
Oh.
And so there's a vanilla wafer crumble in the milkshake.
Okay.
Now, I struggle sometimes with textures. I don't know. Sometimes you have something...
Is a vanilla wafer just going to shoot through your straw?
Well, you know how sometimes you eat something that tastes really good, but you're I do not like the mouthfeel of this.
Yeah.
So you do have to get past the mouthfeel of the milkshake because they did basically blend vanilla wafers and put it into some ice cream.
Okay.
And it's like sand got into your milkshake. But it tastes...
You're not really selling this right now. Chick-fil-A is not
no, but it tastes so good. And so I am so thrilled to go get a banana milkshake.
Okay. There you go.
And so honestly, that's what has motivated me to go get my new phone.
Sit in the parking lot with your milkshake and cry because your phone is
Yeah, because despite having lived here and in the general vicinity for literally over a decade, I don't know how to navigate Cranberry without a GPS.
No one does. There are people that live there and they can't leave their house.
It's true.
I genuinely believe that.
No, it's true. I have witnessed it.
Okay.
I've witnessed people in Cranberry having to put stuff in their phone to get somewhere else.
Don't feel bad. Nope,
anyway, this is a podcast that's not about Chick-Fil-A.
It's not about Chick-Fil-A or banana pudding or Cranberry.
Or phones.
But also Chick-fil-A sponsor us. Anyway, so this is actually, we're going to talk a little bit about Promise of Life Network's funding, which sounds really boring. Please do not turn it off. But we're going to talk about the funding model in general, like being funded as a private nonprofit and why that's good and why that provides a tremendous amount of accountability for us as an organization. And then we'll also talk a little bit about like our government structure.
Right. And this is especially relevant at this time of year because we are in what we call here at Promise of Life Network banquet season. Which is a time
where we prep for the banquet.
Yeah. I was just going to leave it as that. Like, it is a time period. And all of the Gen Z people would have understood, like, oh.
For all of you who are not Gen Z, it is a time where we prepare for our annual banquet. And our banquet is our biggest fundraising event. It raises a tremendous amount of our annual income. But it also helps people like really engage with us and learn about us and feel very connected to ministry, which I want them to. Like, we want people to be connected to ministry, and that's part of being a private nonprofit. And so the banquet is part of that. So if you come to the banquet, which we would love to have you come, you can go to promiseoflifenetwork.org/banquet. You can register. You can sponsor a table if you want to. You can come and you can learn all about the ministry and hear all about our year and how it went and what our plans are. And then you can also hear from Amy Shearing, who's like one of my personal favorite people. And she'll talk about like what's happening at the state level. And she'll talk about just the hope that pregnancy centers bring to the world. It's going to be really beautiful. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And so you will hear us talk about the banquet every episode from now until the banquet.
And actually after the banquet, because we are doing a podcast special, and we're going to set up, Mikayla's very nervous about this. We're going to set up our podcast recording situation, our situationship.
I want to talk about it.
And we're going to set it up at the banquet, and we're going to have an opportunity for people who are attending to come and sit with Mikayla and just answer like some really basic, like, why do you like Promise Life Network? Why do you donate? Why does this matter to you? Because I want everyone to hear from people who are invested in the ministry besides us.
So if it has ever been your dream to come sit with me in front of an admittedly kind of grainy webcam, it is
hurt its feelings.
It is your time to shine. And so please register for the banquet so that I'm not sitting by myself in a corner.
Yeah.
Is the lead here. If you've ever wanted to be not podcast famous, now is your chance.
This is your chance. And it could go viral. We don't know.
It could, but please don't do something weird to make it go viral.
It's not live.
I do not want to go viral for the wrong reasons.
I'm also planning on making the board members interview.
That'll be really fun. That's what I'm going to tell myself from now until the banquet.
Don't
like,
embarrass yourself.
Hype. It's going to be so fun.
No, I love the banquet. It's going to be great.
No, it really is going to be good. So please come and say hi to me in the podcast corner.
Yes, and learn all about us. So I want to talk about how we're funded, and I realize that sounds very, very dry, but I'm going to tell you it's very important, and it matters a lot, and it really affects who we are as an organization. So we are a 100% privately funded nonprofit. This is like the unicorn of nonprofits. What that means is we receive 0 federal, 0 state tax dollars. Okay. So a lot of nonprofits, I would say most nonprofits, are federally funded or state funded. So the government says, they apply to the state government or the federal government or both, and they receive grants for their work, whether they're doing like housing work or food or whatever it is, they're getting some kind of money from the state and the federal government.
Yeah.
And so they're often also privately funded, although not always. Some places are just running on state and federal contracts. But the majority, or at least parts of their funding comes from the state government, federal government.
And this goes for some pregnancy centers. Like, this is not all pregnancy centers are privately funded.
Most are.
There are pregnancy centers that do have state funding.
Yes.
Not in Pennsylvania anymore, but...
Well, actually, it's
we can talk about that some other time.
Yes, and it's not a bad thing, necessarily.
No, right.
So I have friends, John, Jill... Other friends whose names are not coming to me, but I wish they would, because they probably don't start.
Are your friends okay being named in this podcast? Is this incriminating?
Yes, because there's so many, like only one John in the world. Now everybody knows who he is. Their pregnancy centers do receive state funding under a very specific granting structure.
Right.
It used to be called Real Alternatives. Our governor got rid of it, and now it's coming. Like now they're working on finding like a different avenue. Yeah. It's not bad. Like it's just a choice. We've made a choice to be privately funded. Most other pregnancy centers have made the same choice, and then there's some pregnancy centers who are majority privately funded but do receive some state funding.
So what this means is if we don't receive any state funding, does that mean that the state of Pennsylvania can tell us what to do?
Well, I mean, yes, in the way that they make laws that we have to follow.
Right.
Yeah. No.
We do actually follow the law.
We do follow the law. And there are laws the state made that we have to follow, obviously. But no, the state can't come in and say, hey, we're going to give you this money, but you have to use it in this specific way. And you can't do this, you can do that. And there's not like all of those strings and structures and things. So then instead of being accountable to the state for our funding, we are accountable to our donors, which are all individuals, businesses, churches, private foundations. Okay, so not the state, not the government. And so the thing that I absolutely love about that, and this is where I start to geek out about fundraising, is for Mikayla, she's heard the speech. I love it. And like you can vouch for the fact that I get this excited
every single time.
To
be fair, it's a good speech.
It's a great speech.
Take it away.
Because I love it so much. All right, so this is what I love about being privately funded. So in theory, okay, like the Lord God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, right? And so he could fund us any way he wanted. Like I could walk out of our back door every January 1st and find a sack full of cash that is going to cover all of our expenses until December 31st.
That would be convenient.
It would, but I think we would lose something. And what we would lose are our donors, our partnerships, and the people that love us so, so much.
Yeah.
Because every time someone gives $1, a penny, a dime, a nickel, every time a little kid, I'm gonna cry. Like I just love it so much. Every time a little kid like empties their piggy bank into their baby bottle, like they become part of the ministry.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
They bring their little
stop.
And they dump it into the baby bottle, and then they like.
But I feel the same way with like the little old ladies who write like their little checks that is like a huge chunk of like their income. Yeah, their income. I'm like, aww.
Yes, it's fantastic because these individuals, the 6-year-old with her baby bottle and her piggy bank, or a single mom who's giving $10 a month, or a retired individual on Social Security who's giving $20 a month. Like these are people who have said, I love this ministry. I love these mothers. I love these children so much that I'm going to give sacrificially of my own income that I could spend on food or rent or toys if you're like a little one, or a vacation or clothes or shoes or whatever. And I'm going to take that new phone, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to give it to the pregnancy center because I care about their ministry.
Yeah.
And when that transaction happens, it's not just a transaction. It's an act of trust and an act of partnership and an act of sacrifice that is just so beautiful and honestly, I believe, sacred. Because it's not just me and you and the staff and the volunteers and the board doing ministry. It's all of these people who are giving their time and their talent and their treasure to make this thing happen.
Right.
And so it becomes this entire group of vast majority Christians, if not all, Christians who are pouring into this ministry and making it happen. And all of that love and that energy and those prayers and that faith and that belief and that beautiful Christian spirit going into it is what makes this ministry work. Because when someone gives financially, they're invested and they're praying for you and they're asking the Lord to like intervene on behalf of the moms and the children and the families that we're ministering to. And they're asking the Lord to guide us. And that's all bringing us this like amazing, beautiful partnership.
And I think, and you and I have talked about this too, like one of the things that I really like is that every donor matters. And we've had conversations about like, listen, we have people who donate what you and I would consider to be large amounts of money. And that are large amounts of money to, I think, most people in society. We're very blessed. We also have a lot of people who donate $10 a month. And they've donated $10 a month since before I was born.
Right.
And they are equally important. And because we are privately funded, we're allowed to make them equally important,
right?
If that makes any sense.
Yes.
So we have the freedom to give just as much time and attention and gratefulness for someone who sacrificially gave $10 versus $100,000.
Absolutely. And I get just as excited as you can tell from this podcast. But it's so beyond that. So they're giving us money to run, right? Like that's the basics of it. Like they're sending a check, they're giving a baby bottle, maybe they're donating a box of diapers, like whatever. They're becoming part of this ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But the other half of that equation is that we then become responsible to them for how we operate.
Yeah. It's accountability.
It's accountability. And so our donors become our board members. Mm-hmm. Our donors become our volunteers, or our volunteers become donors. Like it can go both ways. And then those board members are all donating, right? Mm-hmm. And often, in fact, almost all the time, they start as a donor before they become a board member, because that's how we get to know them. And so then they're coming on the board and they're saying, okay, now in addition to being part of this ministry through my gift and through my prayers and through my support, I'm going to be part of it through governing. Mm-hmm. And that's how our like policies and our bylaws and our statements of faith and our statement on marriage and gender and our statement on like all these other things, that's where they all come from, are from these individuals that love and care for and support the ministry financially. And now they've decided to become part of the governing population. Mm-hmm. And not that you can like donate $10 online and then call and say, okay, Sarah, I'm here to tell you how to run the center. Right?
Yeah, like that does not go over very well.
Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Yeah. You don't like, but at the same time, like, let's say
it's also a really weird attitude to have.
It is very strange. It's actually never happened. I've never had it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think we've had it happen. But if it did, we would be like, ugh. Like, brother. Ugh.
But we have individuals. I feel like I should. So I'm not going to, because that'd be awkward. But like, there are individuals who've been donating faithfully for decades. Yeah. And if they call me and they're like, hey, I have a question, mm-hmm. or I have a concern, or I want to talk about X, or I want to talk about Y, or I want to know more about how you're handling inflation, mm-hmm. or how you're handling the rising costs of goods, or how you're handling the new FLSA laws. Let me tell you, if you call me and ask me, you will wish you had not, because I will give you so many answers to your questions. We will have spreadsheets. There will be pie charts. My joy will be unbounded. And in fact, I actually worked with a donor. Again, I will not mention their name. It's confidential. Obviously, I don't just go around like blasting everyone's names. The gentleman and his wife, but I specifically talked to the husband. He was like, hey, I want to talk to you. We're talking about, we're considering donating. I want everyone to call me before they donate. Yeah. I mean, it would actually be really hard because I'd spend all the time on the phone. But I would love it because I want them to ask questions and feel comfortable with who we are and how we operate and what our theories are and what our foundations are and what our statements are.
Right. Because, well, I mean, we want, this is going to sound awful, but like we need people's money.
Yes.
Like that is a fact. And so I don't think it's wrong to be like, listen, it turns out we have to have money to buy things.
Right.
Like that is just how it works. But I think we're after partners more than anything.
Yes.
And so, and we use the term partner instead of like money giver.
Right. You know, I've never called anyone a money giver.
Oh, I would never. Because they're partners. Yeah. And partners can call and ask questions and get Sarah's pie charts.
I can give you historical pie charts in addition to current pie charts. There are so many pie charts. Anyway, so then you have the chance to like listen and ask questions. And honestly, unless there's something confidential, which we obviously have confidentiality regarding client records and donor records, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you anything. I'll sit down. You can look at the whole budget. I'll sit down with you and like we'll parse out like how much money we spent on Sharpies last year. Yeah, because nobody ever wants to do that.
Do we even have Sharpies? Because I don't think we spent much money on Sharpies.
I bought Sharpies once in 2019 when the book came out, and I'm still running up like that.
Yeah, I was about to say like we don't.
But like Sharpies. The colors that I really like keep running dry, so then I just have to. So now I'm like down to like the orange ones.
It's gonna be a line in 2025. If you would like to buy us new Sharpies. Box of Sharpies. You could go to www.promiseoflifenetwork.org/donate.
I like the big package.
We like options, but we're not picky. But like we do like options. All black,
anyway, so I want people to call me. Anyway, so this gentleman called me and he had all these questions, and he and we were geeking out. So, like we were on the phone for an hour. His poor wife.
She's probably like, oh my gosh.
She was so over us.
It's like, Just take my money and shut up.
He would ask a question, and I would get super excited and answer it in multi-paragraphs.
Yeah.
Which then would get him more excited.
I could see this. Yeah.
So he would ask another question, which would get me more excited. And you could tell she was like, I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
Like, she was great.
I'd be like, just take my money. I'm sure you're going to do good
probably,
things with it. Just please leave.
I had a feeling she got up with her husband, and she was like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I trust you to ask. Anyway, I was excited. So I love it when people call, and I love it when they ask questions because I want to share with them, but I also want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
And I'll even reach out. So something that actually kind of irritates me with fundraising is one of the phrases that I hear often in fundraising is if you want money, ask for advice. And if you want advice, ask for money. And so one of the tricks of fundraising is you should call your donors and ask for advice, but then they'll give you money. And I'm like, that's really gross.
Yeah, if I wanted someone's money, I would just call and ask for their money.
Why not
just be straight up?
If we had a financial need, let's say we had a financial need for $20,000, and I had a list of people that I knew could donate $1,000, and I was going to call 25, figuring 5 of them were going to take. I'm going to call and be like, hey, so-and-so, we have this specific financial need, and I know that you've donated in the past, and I know that this is close to your heart, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to donate towards this specific financial.
Yeah.
I would not call them and say, hey, I really want your advice, and hope that you'll give me money.
Yeah, because what if their advice is call 25 people and just be honest.
But the thing is, I will call donors and ask for their advice.
Sure, but if you need advice, ask for advice, and if you need money, ask for money.
Right, because I genuinely want to hear what they have to say.
Right. And
we have some really smart partners.
Well, and it takes a village. I know sometimes when I speak with donors, just casually or at the banquet or something, they always talk to me as if I know everything. Most of the time.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm flattered, but I'm just and it's a missed opportunity, I think. They can contribute so much.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, I don't know everything. Quite frankly, I'm not sure I know much of anything. So to deny them that, or to view them as just
like a bank account.
Yeah, a bank account is sad.
It's almost like children. Not that we're their children, but if you're going to your parents and just asking, hey, can I have $20? Can I have $20? Can I have $20? Maybe they'll give it to you. They probably shouldn't if you're just asking them for money continuously. But don't miss out on their wisdom either, because your parents know things that you don't know.
Yeah, and
they've lived life that you haven't lived. And I'm 36, almost 37, and we have donors, we have partners who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and up, and whether or not, and some of them are my age and younger, of course, too. But they have life experience I don't have.
Yeah,
they have specialties that I don't have. They have wisdom and skills that I don't have. And so I want them to share that wisdom and share those specialties and share those gifts so that we can be the best possible organization, because they deserve that.
And you don't have to have those gifts specifically within pregnancy help to be of help.
Right.
Right. And I think that's what I run into is these people are insanely smart. They know so much. They've got all of this wisdom, and they'll be like, well, I don't know anything because I don't work at a pregnancy center. I just donate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to work at a pregnancy center to be useful.
Honestly. Well, and that's where our committees come from.
Right.
So we have a finance committee that has these amazing, we have CPAs and we have EAs and we have a retired bookkeeping professor and we have an auditor. We have all these people on our finance committee, and they only meet 2 to 3 times a year.
Right.
But the amount of knowledge that's in that room, it's half virtual, so in that space is just incredible, because we have all these people who love the ministry and they're passionate about the ministry and they all give to the ministry, and they're all using their very specific giftings and skill set to give back and make sure that we're operating with excellence.
Yeah.
And that's the community that makes a true grassroots nonprofit run.
Mm-hmm.
It's not writing a grant to the state.
Yeah.
And getting state money. And I'm not saying that's bad. Okay. I know there's lots of great nonprofits that run on state money. That's fine. But I love the true grassroots community that we have as a privately funded local nonprofit, where I'm going to run into people who are partnering with us at the store and at the park and at a museum and at an event and at church. And they're going to really care about the answer to how is Promise Life Network doing, because they're financially, spiritually engaged.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's why the banquet matters. And that's why the walk matters. And that's why our monthly partners matter. And the reality is we're extremely careful with our funds because we know that like those gifts were given sacrificially.
Right.
And so we really do slow down and consider, do we need to buy this? Do we need to spend on this? Is this a good use of our time, of our energy, of our funds,
of our staff time?
Yeah. You know, because if it's not giving back to the mission, and if it's not working towards saving lives and changing lives, then we're not doing it.
Yeah. And this is why we're using dried up Sharpies.
If you moisten the tip.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I've licked a couple Sharpies in my time here at Promise of Life.
And like, we try to be smart. And actually, one of the things I like to do is because I'm very frugal, my personality.
Yeah.
And
it's fun to be frugal, in my opinion.
It is. I can be over the top, I'll be honest.
But see, I find that there's a challenge. I was just talking with someone about this. Yeah, I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Like, there is some sort of dopamine hit I get from saving money.
And so it's things like, sometimes it's things that are pretty, you know, I don't know, like, I guess standard money saving things. Like, we'll go and we'll buy something used. Like,
like,
especially
or you're getting like great value toilet paper versus Charmin.
Yes.
Or whatever. Actually, I don't skimp on toilet paper. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what kind of toilet we get.
I was well, no, not here, but I'm just like personally, like, don't skimp
too much. New phone and branding toilet paper. Like, what's up?
Well, I like shop at Aldi on Tuesday nights because that's when they mark down meat. Like, I make sacrifices elsewhere so that I can have good food.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it's financial responsibility.
Yeah. So some of it's like just buying the off-brand or making sure that we utilize things really, really well, and that we're not like, oh, I don't need this, or I'll toss this, or whatever. Like, we want to make sure that we really, really use things well. Making sure that we're using staff time well, that we're utilizing volunteers who are willing to donate their time so that we're not paying staff to do something that someone could volunteer to do. Some of the other things are a little bit harder for me to make calls on because one of the things I struggle with every year is how much it costs us to pay for insurance.
Yeah.
It is, I'm going to use the word obscene.
Yeah.
How much money we spend on insurance. And if you're a business person, you would not find it tedious. If you're someone like me, it feels like quite a bit.
And it turns out we can't just rolling without insurance is not.
You can't do that.
It was like, one, I don't think it's legal, and two,
it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, it would not be financial wisdom to do that.
And that's why we have a treasurer, because I seriously floated it to our 2 treasurers ago.
They were like, you can't.
And he was like, he's like, why are we having this conversation?
Yeah.
Like, well, what if we just got cheaper insurance? And he's like, no, I don't want to do that either, Sarah. Like, calm down. Something else that is like a really big expense that sometimes I find frustrating are the warranties on the ultrasound machines.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
I'm sure they are.
So it's kind of interesting because they usually come with a warranty. So for the first couple of years, I was looking for something in the files. The warranties come with the machine for like the first 2 or 3 years, and then we have to like continue to buy it.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong, they come out and fix it for you. But it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so every year I struggled with like, is this a good use of funds? You know, the machines don't typically break. And then one year we thought we had a wiring harness so bad, and it would have been a $20,000 repair.
Yeah.
And I have paid for the warranties with a little bit more joy in my heart.
Yeah.
Ever since. Yeah. And so when I'm struggling because of my natural frugal nature and paying something, I typically go to like our business partners, either gentlemen or ladies who used to run businesses and are now retired or who are currently running businesses. And I'll be like, hey, I'm struggling. Like, is this a legitimate business expense? And every single time they're like, yeah.
They're like, you have to have insurance.
I mean, that was probably not the best example, but yeah, they'll be like, yeah, that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Every time we get a new treasurer, we actually just got a new one. He's fantastic. I'm like, let's go over the budget together. And I really think they're going to find something that they do not. They never do. They never do. But every time I hope. But maybe there's just an area that I have not noticed.
That we're just like lavishly
just
spending
wasting money left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having partners, local partners who give up their personal funds to us makes us very accountable to them, which I think is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us use our funds really, really well. I'm very passionate about using funds well. I'm very passionate about connecting well with our financial partners and making sure that they're comfortable with what we're doing and how we operate, to a reasonable extent. And then those partners, those financial partners, some of them will go on and they'll become board members. They'll become volunteers. They'll become committee members. And I just really love it because it's this whole community working to make Promise of Life Network happen, not just staff or the volunteers board, but like it's everyone. Yeah. And in a way, it really does feel like everyone in this community, because it does, a lot of our churches are involved and things like that. And so it's everyone, and it's beautiful. And I think it's how God wants ministry to happen.
It's the church, and I see like church with a capital C coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And like some select few that aren't in the church that still donate to us.
Not a ton.
But not a ton.
I'll be honest with you.
It's mostly the church with a capital
C. With a capital C. It's mostly believers.
Yeah. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. It genuinely takes a village, and I know that we're not everyone's children, but like it feels that way sometimes.
Sometimes it's like the center itself, the organization itself is the child of the community.
Yeah.
It's that we're all guarding it, we're all watching over it, we're making sure that its ministry goes forward because we want to see babies saved and lives changed and the gospel move forward and built. And that happens through our work, and that's important. Yeah. The thing I was looking for, which I could not find on my phone, I know I have it on my computer. We actually have something called the Donor Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, again, very passionate about it. No one ever called me to ask about it. So if you would like to hear more about your rights as a donor and the information you have to write, or if you'd like to see pie charts,
call Sarah. Don't call me. Call Sarah.
And I'll get so excited. And I will show you all the pie charts, and it'll be beautiful. And maybe you'll be annoyed by the end of the conversation, but I'll be excited. And I think that's worth something.
Here you go. We're going to get donations just to be like, will you please stop mentioning the pie charts?
Please stop, Sarah.
They're like, we will literally pay you to stop talking.
If we give you more money, will you stop talking about?
And that is 100% an absolutely A-okay way to donate. So again, www.
And you can put in the notes, if you donate online, promiseoflifenetwork.org/donate, you can just put in hashtag stop it with the pie charts. And we'll know in our hearts. Susie won't. Our bookkeeper will be very confused.
What has happened?
She'll be like, Sarah, what is this fundraiser that we're doing called hashtag stop it with the pie chart? And I'll be like, Susie, it's the most successful fundraiser we've ever done. That being said, thank you for donating. If you're listening, thank you for listening. Please pray for us. Pray for our clients. Pray for our board. Pray for our team. And know that our vision, our mission here at Promise of Life Network, part of it is to operate with absolute integrity, to do things as though Christ is watching, because he is, to invite Jesus and the Holy Spirit and the Father into every area of ministry, including how we spend and how we budget and how we steward the resources that people are so generous with.
And I'll use that as like a segue into our Jesus moment. So because we are 100% privately funded, independently funded, how does that impact our ability to share the gospel?
We can share it with everyone.
Heck yeah, we can.
Every client. Now, one thing we can't do, this is my caveat for sharing the gospel, we cannot go into public schools and preach the gospel.
Yeah, and that's not a funding issue with us. That's a public school issue. That is a whole different can of worms.
But we can talk to our pregnancy tests, STD tests, well women exam, parenting clients, international clients, post-abortive clients, grief support clients.
Everybody other than the public schoolers.
And if we go to an after-school program or a church, we can talk about it, just not in the actual public school. We're able to share the gospel. We're able to bring people to Christ. We're able to introduce them to their Savior. And that is my favorite thing. I love it when women choose life. I love it when babies are born. Those are like peak pregnancy center moments. But nothing beats hearing that someone has come to faith in Jesus Christ. Yeah. And that now that person is our sister or brother forever. And I love it. Just love it.
I mean, like saving babies here on earth, super important. Mm-hmm. Saving lives for eternity, even more important.
It's very much more important. Yeah. So one parenthetical thing I will say, just to make sure, because again, I'm a fan of integrity and I'm a fan of clarity, and I'm high charge, apparently. We partner with the State Department of Health for our STD testing program.
Yeah.
So we receive testing supplies, so like gloves, specimen cups, we'll leave it at specimen. The tubes that we ship the specimens to the lab. We use their lab, and then the treatment is from them. However, all of the overhead is us.
Yes.
So staff wages, lights, heat, all of our equipment, all of our like lab space, all of our client spaces, those are all ours. And because of that, and we are very clear with them up front. Like, we share the gospel, we talk about abstinence, we talk about healthy relationships, and they were like, that's fine, just do the STD testing and the treatment. So we offer it for free, which is also really unique. Most places, even when they do partner with the Department of Health, they charge on a sliding scale, so they're going to charge based on your income and your ability to pay. We offer it completely free to everyone that walks in our doors, and we want to share the gospel with them. Not everyone's open to it. Some people come in and they're like, listen, I don't want any of your Jesus stuff. I just want the services. And that's their business. That's their choice.
Yeah.
But if they're open to it, we do want to share with them. So it's up to them. It's up to the client. But our partnership with the Department of Health does not include us from sharing the gospel.
Right. Yeah, it's just testing supplies.
Yeah, it's just testing supplies. And people can, if they don't want to come here, they can go somewhere else. Like, there's other places to get tested. We're pretty much the only one. So we're here. Yeah. And like I said, while we do love sharing the gospel and we're very passionate about it, we're not going to push it on someone that isn't ready for it or has verbalized they're not interested.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Like, that's their choice. Yeah, that's us. That's what we do. So we are. It's how we're funded. Love to see you at the banquet, promiseoflifenetwork.org/banquet. You can register as a guest. You can purchase a table. You can also donate at promiseoflifenetwork.org/donate. And you don't even have to put the hashtag in about
stop it with the pie jokes.
Because I'll call you. No, I'm just kidding.
And the banquet is October 24th and 25th.
Yep, we do 2 nights.
It's 2 nights. You just pick one. Do not feel FOMO, fear of missing out, for those of you who aren't Gen X. Or Gen Z, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Alphabet's hard.
Tracy's Gen X, and she FOMOs all the time.
Yeah. So I guess anyone above Gen X. Anyway, don't feel FOMO as if it's like these one giant event happening over 2 days. It is the same
They're
event.
identical.
Yeah, they're identical. Yeah. So people who go on Thursday, you are not missing anything by not being there on Friday. Other than the eggplant with the cheese in the middle.
I wish I could have it, because everyone says it's so good.
Why can't you have it? I thought it was the gluten-free.
It's the vegan option.
Well, I'm bummed for you. It's really good.
It is really good. So come have eggplant with us.
Yeah, come have eggplant with us.
We'll have gluten-free options.
But if you're vegan, or not vegan, but just really like cheese and eggplant.
Yeah, the funny thing is we probably have the least vegan crowd of donors that ever got together and ate dinner together. But they love the eggplant.
But we demolished that eggplant.
That's right. They're also throwing chicken and meatballs on there. So come out. It's a great time. And we'd love to see you. Yeah.